So our task here is to square root a complex number. So let's start by setting our answer be clearly going to be a complex number, a plus bi. So if that's our answer, then z squared is going to equal minus 1 plus root 24i. If z is a plus bi, then we're going to get a plus bi squared equals minus 1 plus root 24i. Okay, let's expand this side here. We now have patterns, so it's going to be a squared plus 2ab plus b, which is bi squared, and that must equal minus 1 plus root 24i. I squared is clearly negative 1, so we're going to go a squared minus b squared plus 2abi equals minus 1 plus root 24i. Can you see that that's our real part? And that's our real part on the other sides of the equal sign. That's our imaginary part. So we're going to what's called equate coefficients, or correlate each side of our equality there, our equality being the equal sign. So from this green underlined section, we can clearly state that a squared minus b squared equals negative 1, and by correlating these coefficients here, we can say that 2ab equals root 24. Okay. Two equations, two unknowns there, so there's got to be an answer there somewhere. I can't really do too much with elimination, so I'm going to have to use substitution. I don't have an a squared down here to go in there, so how about I go b is root 24 on 2a. And I'm going to put that b in here to get a squared minus b squared is going to be all of that squared. So it's going to be 4a squared equals negative 1. Oh, I'm looking at the wrong spot there. Okay. I don't like this a squared underneath. So I'm going to have to multiply everything by a squared. See, there's 24 and 4. Let's just get rid of that. And now it's just multiplying by the a squared. So that's going to become a to the 4. That minus 6 is just going to be minus 6 because the a squared will go. And that negative 1, I'm going to add 1 over here. But when I multiply that by my a squared, I'm going to end up with a plus a squared there. So that looks very much like a quadratic. It's really a squared squared plus a squared minus 6 equals 0. So there's my quadratic. X squared plus x minus 6 equals 0. Let's just clean this up a little bit, because we've got more work to do. So we need to think about this, and we're going to go a squared, factors of negative 6 that add to get positive 1, so it's 2 and 3, isn't it? And we've got a plus 1, so it's going to be a squared plus 3. A squared minus 2 equals 0. So therefore a squared will equal minus 3 or 2. So if a squared equals negative 3 or 2, then a will equal root negative 3 or root 2. See up here? A, definitely a real number, not a complex number in itself. It's in a complex number, but it's not. So see that there? We can cross that out, so that's not an answer. The square root of 2 is not just 2, it's the plus or minus root 2. So clearly we can have two answers for A. Our other equation up there, which I rubbed out before, was a squared minus b squared equals negative 1, I think. So now that we know A, we can find B. So a squared is definitely 2, isn't it? If root 2 squared is 2 minus b squared equals negative 1, and add b squared equals 3, so b equals plus or minus root 3. So again, we've got two answers. Don't really know which one goes with which. So we're going to come back to another equation that I rubbed out before. 2ab equaled root 24. So clearly here, when a is positive root 2, when I multiply it, I need to get a positive over here. So that positive and that positive must go together. And to get a positive over here, that negative and that negative must go together. Okay, so we've got a equals plus or minus root 2 and b equals plus or minus root 3. So we know our a or b, and we know how they go together. So when we get to our answer, to comply with all of those equations that we originally got, we're going to have to come up with our z is positive root 2 goes with our positive root 3, so that's our b in front of the I, or z can equal negative root 2, and that goes with our negative root 3i. So z can take two forms, and that even seems a little bit reasonable because remember, root 9 is plus or minus 3. We've got two answers, so really we were expecting two answers. Love how maths just works it out for us.